I'll get started. It's 1:05. I think I'm going to need for 35 minutes. Hi, everybody. My name is Biren Shah. I've been a product executive in Austin. Actually, I've lived in Austin for 30 years. And like I tell people, I was not born in Texas, but I got here as passive income. So I've been in Austin. First step from overseas, came to Austin, studied in McCombs, studied at UT Austin CS, and I stayed here. So I'm really excited to present this topic to you guys. It's really personal to me, guys, because this year I've been on a reinventing journey myself. So I know a lot of folks in this crowd may be in the same shoes as myself, so I wanted to share what I've learned and just learn from you guys back. So the next slide is the customary ProductCamp sponsors slide. I love Pragmatic. The folks there are amazing. So those are the only people I want to call. Amazing. Okay, so what's today's talk going to be like? So first, I'll just take a quick step back and look at the state of AI adoption today. I just wanted to set the stage for the talk later on. I'll talk a little bit about my reinvention journey, and then the next thing I'll talk about, what the framework, the way I looked at my journey and what the framework I came up with to present to other people so that they can reinvent their journey. We'll talk about the 7 mindsets of a product manager or a person for AI success, 5 skill sets that I really think are critical. You guys should start doing it today to learn about AI and how to reinvent yourself. And then last, I hope I have time, but I'll walk you guys through a chatbot, a RAG-based chatbot that I built by myself, no code, completely, mainly just so that I could learn about AI. Hopefully someday it becomes a product and I'll be a billionaire, but not yet. Okay, so are we ready for AI? So while I was researching for this topic, I wanted to kind of set the stage get some metrics on how is AI changing everybody's life, right? So the big number is $364 billion. These are just big tech. And if you look at big tech plus government plus private entities, it's upwards of $400 billion that they're pledging to this space. Now you can imagine when they're pledging this much money, it's going to drive a lot of transformation, right? Another great stat, 78% of organizations are using AI. I think at least one business function, and that's up almost 50% from last year. However, this is the part that really stood out to me. 46% of leaders identify skill gaps as big barrier to AI adoption. So people are trying to adopt it, but they are not, either don't have the skills in-house or they're not finding skills outside to be able to implement these projects. That's a really big number. And then 30% of Gen AI projects will be abandoned by the end of 2025, primarily because of definitely a skill gap, but also there are other factors. And I would actually take this time and get your thoughts on it. So if you just could take a minute, here's a poll. If you could take out your camera and do a quick poll, and let's see what you guys think why AI is projects are failing. Let me know if you guys have problems. This is my first time I'm doing a Slido poll, so any Slido experts here? Lisa, come on, I know you.
A little bit.
Don't be shy. I think we are coming. Yeah, looks like it's getting stable. Okay, so you guys hit it right. top reasons why AI projects fail is because data in enterprises are not ready for AI. That's the number one reason why AI projects are failing today. Second one is definitely a skill gap. People are not able to implement these AI projects. Third one is an interesting one, which is scaling challenge in production. What this means is that people are trying different projects, people are doing prototypes, okay, but when they take the prototype to production, okay, they're seeing massive failures. And this is because of a lot of issues around doing proper evals, once it goes to productions, doing monitoring, so that you are monitoring for model bias and things like that. These are hot topics in AI right now. Misalignment with customer needs. This is product management 101, guys. Every use case is not an AI use case. I keep stressing that I'm working with a founder right now who wants me to build an AI platform for financial tech, and he insists that I use AI, but I keep telling him this is not an AI use case. So very important to understand that piece. There's unreasonable business expectations. Every board member, I was telling the CEOs, go build an AI, reinvent yourself as an AI. Like, think of what you can do in AI. That's definitely one of the reasons why people are just going with projects and they're failing fast. Poor risk management compliance. This points to the evals piece. If you guys, this is an emoji. I know it's like less, but it is one of the most talked about topics right now in AI that people are really grappling with right now, which is how do you make sure that your AI, when it goes to production, is well set up for risk management, for compliance issues, for bias, and things like that. Okay. Okay, so I'll take a step back. I'll talk a little bit about myself, my reinvention journey. So I was a product manager for 18 years and classic product management skills. I, in fact, led a 30% team, product operations, data science team. I led a machine learning team for 7 years to develop scoring algorithms. In 2024, I also released a couple of AI projects for automotive companies. But I still felt as if I was not truly understanding what AI is. I felt as if there was so much noise, and it was coming at me with a brute force that I need to step back and figure out, okay, how do I have a framework to understand this space? And that's what started my reinvention journey. 6 months ago, I started thinking about this topic, and I've gone through this process of, diving deep into the topic, learning as much as I can, and then building agents, building chatbots, building a website, and then I realized, okay, maybe there's a better way to do this. So I hope that you guys can look at the next couple of slides and think through how you're going to become a better AI informed, either product manager, product marketing manager, or whatever your profession is, right? By the way, I did this icon in ChatGPT. This is the first shot of icon. So I said, hey, ChatGPT, give me a product manager, and then give me a AI product manager. Not a bad job, right? But it's all male. Why is that? Right? Right? Why is that? Right? I did the same thing on Perplexity. Okay, it gave me a female. Okay, okay, and the AI product manager was a robot. And I was going, oh my god. Okay, so this goes to show that it's not straightforward. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the framework that I've been thinking about. So, in my opinion, okay, there are 3 steps really to become really well versed with AI. And it all starts with the foundation, right? You need to have the right mindset in order to tackle this space. A lot of people focus on the top of the pyramid. They look at the best tools out there to do orchestration, they do the best tools, whether it's Lovable or whether it's Replit, whatever it is. But these tools are constantly changing, right? So it's like you're trying to grasp on air, trying to figure it out. So my advice is do not focus on the tools, okay, until you need to use it. Okay, focus on your mindset and then focus on the skills that you need to become successful. Okay, that's the takeaway. So I've come up with 7 mindsets of a great AI player. So this is the first one, is the biggest one, data first. Okay, so every AI PM, okay, you need, I mean, we already do it, right? Product managers, we love data. We already do it. But this has become so critical. And it's not just critical in the product management space, but also in setting up data pipelines. Is your data ready for your AI use case? Okay, that's the number one thing that you start looking at. Right? So think about it from an AI mindset, that is my data good enough for this? Growth, okay, so I've, keep learning new skills and capabilities. Like I was mentioning, things change. You may think that a certain model only does video transcription, okay, and doesn't do audio transcription the best, right? But next week, their capabilities will change. So you need to stay on top of these things and just kind of keep learning and keep growing, and just don't avoid a fixed mindset is my biggest kind of feedback to you guys. Curious, okay, ask why. Dig deeper and stay open to insights, okay? I'll give an example of this one, really. So a couple of slides back, I had put a metric which talked about the number of projects that failed, right? So it was 30%, if you guys remember. So my first prompt to ChatGPT was, okay, I'm looking for a metric which will tell me how many AI projects are expected to fail in 2025, okay? It brought up an MIT study, which was 95%, I'm sure some of you guys have seen that.
Yes.
95% of AI projects fail, right? So I went in and looked at the MIT study, okay? Looked at what they were studying and how they were categorizing AI projects. And once you dive deep into the data, you can see that they're looking at a very small section of Gen AI projects, which have a failure rate of 95%. Okay, if you look at general LLM projects, okay, they have a success rate, okay, of 80%. So I'm thinking, why is ChatGPT saying this? And then I looked at all the sources, okay, and everybody started commenting on this without looking at the data. So what AI is doing is looking at 10,000 people and saying, yeah, 10,000 people are saying this 95% of AI projects fail. So it must be true, right? So this is why I stress that the mindset of a great PM needs to be curious, you need to ask why, you need to dig deep in the data, and you really need to validate what the AI is telling you, right? Experimental, okay, so this, traditionally product managers, we kind of used to, okay, discovery, design, requirements, send it to engineering, wait for it to come back, see it works, and ship it, right? AI model is completely different. It is about a closed loop between your stakeholders, your PM organization, and your engineer. They are all running together in a big circle. And experimentation is the name of the game. So you need to start understanding how I'm going to set up these experiments, how I'm going to build and test and learn, and then how I'm going to take the feedback and build more experiments out of it, right? So that mindset, okay, is really important. Adaptable. So this is where, I was working on projects and I was hitting a brick wall. I was getting to the point where, I was getting frustrated, so you really have to be adaptable to failure. This is like a mindset that you have to understand and learn that AI is not necessarily going to solve all your problems. You're going to fail, AI will fail, and you just have to adapt to it and understand, go back to the curious why it's failing. and then kind of have a loop around that. Responsible, a great topic. I think this is also one of the emerging ones, where people are very concerned about AI being, ethical, transparent, compliant, doesn't have a bias. This is kind of a new topic, at least for me, as a product manager. I didn't think too deeply about these things when I was building my product, but now I do understand why this is becoming such a big deal. But this is a mindset that you kind of have to develop as you're working through and designing your products. User-centric. So I mentioned the example of my founder, where he insisted on doing this AI, for me to build this AI system. And I think it just comes back to this great product management fundamental principle that you always have your user front and center when you design a product, right? It's all about the user and understanding what the user needs are, and you only bring in AI only in the specific places where you need that capabilities. And that's user-centric. So these are the 7 mindsets. If you have questions, guys, please raise your hands.
I have a question. So, of those 7, which you think is like the most important, or maybe the top 2?
For yourself, like for a person, for a product manager, for me, is being curious and data first.
Cool.
So I apologize, but in regards to user-centric, so I work in a big corporation and I know a lot of different stakeholders, so can you talk to a little bit about how you keep the user as the center of those product decisions when you have 5 other teams coming to you wanting to put their requests first?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it starts with involving those stakeholders, and figuring out who the user personas are, right? And it's classic understanding your users, who the personas are, what they're trying to do. I'm a great believer in the framework of getting the job done. So you have to kind of map out what they're doing, right? And where each of these functions, product, marketing, sales, fit in. Okay, once you have that user map, the personas and what they're trying to do, then you can have a discussion about which areas where I'm going to put the AI, or if I need to put AI, right? But the first step is really critical. Don't jump into just building AI. Try to understand the user and what they're trying to do. Okay, all right. So let me go on to the next. Is the 5 skills. Okay, so as I was transitioning or learning about AI, and I put together these 5 skills. I'll start with the fundamentals. So AI fundamentals is a skill that I think everybody in this room needs to understand at a conceptual level. You may not be designing LLMs, you may not be writing code, you may not be building these bots, but it's really good to understand these concepts because you can have intelligent discussions with the people around you, right? I'm a big history person. It's fascinating how AI has kind of developed and exploded, okay, from machine learning, which is what we traditionally have seen for the last 15 years or so. Capabilities and limits of AI. What is the context? How does AI reason? How does AI hallucinate? These are all great concepts to just get a feel for and understand what they mean. Number 3 is really important, is understanding probabilistic outputs. AI, at the heart of it, is a probability engine, right? It is not a deterministic engine, right? You'll ask the great AI mind, they'll tell you it's probability. And what that means is that it can deviate from an answer, and it could hallucinate and give you the wrong answer. And that is really where the art is on controlling the AI and making sure it's giving you the right answer. Okay, so grasping key trade-offs, comparing models, open versus closed. So very PII sensitive industries like finance and healthcare, are really averse to sharing their information to an open AI model, right? So how do you determine whether the model is going to safeguard your data or not? And those are the things that you should understand and read up about and figure out who are the providers who are going to protect your data. Understanding latency and cost. And this is around, what's it going to cost me to send a query to an agent, and it's going to come back with an answer. That transaction is going to cost you some pennies. So you're understanding that, what drives that cost. Understanding different failure modes of AI, so bias, overconfidence, these are all topics that people are talking about. And just to understand how they all fit in the picture is really critical and a very important foundational skill for an AI design. Okay, so next step is customizing LLMs. I think you guys have, most of you in this room have used ChatGPT or Perplexity, and they have their own language, right? So understanding prompt engineering, what drives good results back from the AI. This is a very basic skill, but once you master the skill, it's going to help you as you get more advanced. Context engineering, this is about understanding how do I build the right data pipelines for AI so that they can grab the right data when they're putting together the answer for me. RAG, I'll talk about RAG. I'll show you an example of RAG, which is essentially calling an LLM, asking the LLM to look up information in a database, it coming back, and then you packaging up all that information for the user to see. And then just understanding high-level awareness of fine-tuning and domain adaptation. Most of the folks in this room are not, I'm assuming they're not technical, so you're not going to be fine-tuning a model. But just understanding what it means to fine-tune a model versus doing RAG is really important. Experimentation and validation. So as I was going through this transformation, I realized that it's not enough to just read stuff, right? Not enough to go and read people's thought process or read literature. I realized that very soon that if I don't start playing around with these tools, I'm not going to get the skills I need to be an AI PM. So I would highly encourage you guys to, sign up for a low-code or no-code tool like N8N or Make or Lovable. Use them and start experimenting with them. That's the best way to learn AI. Familiarity with coding AI assistants. This is a little bit more advanced topic. This is when you kind of get to the point where, okay, you built a great basic application. Now you want to take it a little bit one step forward. How are you going to use AI assistant agents to help you code better? Designing experiments, building prototypes, validating ideas using AI. These are great skills to have. Okay, so data and systems. Data ingestion, like I mentioned before, is one of the most, not talked about topics, but it sets the foundation for your AI application. So understanding how the AI ingests the data and what do I need to do in order to take that data and make it ready for an AI, that's a really critical skill to have. And then building pipelines and understanding how you're going to keep the data fresh for the AI are important skills. Some familiarity with APIs, what is embedding, what are vector databases. These are very conceptual concepts, but they're great when you're talking to an engineer. You could just kind of, once you understand it, you can have much more meaningful conversations with an engineer. The last one is defining AI-specific KPIs. So we are all used to product KPIs, but I think that we need to start layering in AI-specific KPIs such as fairness and accuracy. and bias drift. Those are concepts that, because we are dealing with an LLM and an AI, which is probabilistic, it's really important to have those KPIs so you can track them. Okay, the last one is responsible AI. So as you get further and further down, it gets a little bit more advanced and advanced. So evals, so there are two types of evals here. So one is offline evals and one is what they call online evals. The big difference is offline just means that it's not gone to production. It's not seen 10,000 users. It might have only seen 1,000 users, right? That you are using to develop your AI application. That's offline evals. Online evals are much more harder because you put the product out in the marketplace, your users are using it, and then you have to set the right framework to monitor the results that the LLM is giving the user so that you can adjust for things like bias and incorrectness. So great skills to have when you're working towards an AI PM role.
Question. What are some good places to learn about online and offline events?
So I'll show you an example. NNN has a good kind of framework, and Make has a good framework. So there are tools out there who allow you to now start doing evals within the tools. So that's why I mentioned in the middle point is just open up these tools. It doesn't matter.
So I didn't know if they have evals too.
They have evals. So just start playing around with it, and then you can start learning what evals and writing it. But again, I want to stress, the tool doesn't matter. Just the concept. Just focus on the concept.
For the concepts, are there any courses which are good for evals?
Yes. So there are, if you go to maven.com.
Yeah, I know about Reinvent. Yeah.
Okay, so they have a great course on evals. I forget the name, but it's taught by
Shreya.
Maybe, yeah. So that's a great course. Okay.
Thank you.
What's the name of that website you mentioned?
It's maven.com.
Shreya Shankar. That's the name of the lady who teaches the course. Shreya. I think Shreya Shankar is the name. I'll confirm.
The website was Maven?
Maven.com. Yeah.
Okay. Oops. All right. Okay. So let me go to the example. So so when I started my journey, I just signed up for it, and this is the tool I picked. And I decided that look, I'm going to pick a subject that I know the most about, and just so that I can learn about AI. So I decided to say, okay, I know most about me. I'm going to build a chat bar, which is a supplement to my resume. Now, everybody has a resume in this room. Everybody has those one-line bullet points, right? And you send it out there. But there's a lot of context behind those bullet points, which is not represented anywhere. Right? So I decided to build a chat bar where someone would essentially come in and say, hey, tell me about Biren's success with honey. I think,
Yeah.
and then it would understand what the question is. It would look up the data which I have programmed it and trained it on, and it would display it to the user. So my first version was very simple. On the left-hand side, you don't have to understand code, but essentially what's happening is there's a chat message coming in, it's going to the agent, and the agent is understanding the question. It's going down to a database. It's figuring out what the right answer is. It's coming back up to the agent, and it's responding to the customer. It's very simple. Okay. And then what I learned was the way that I train the model. Okay, is really important because if I don't give it instructions, it's just going to chop up my experiences in its own way. Right? So it would take my experience from my work at JD Power, and it would take an experience from my work at National Instruments, which was a decade ago. It would combine them all together, and then would present like really incorrect answer. So my next version was about instituting a really clever data injection pipeline. So what I did was I looked at the data that I had, and I tagged the data in a way that the AI could understand it. This is the critical piece on all major AI applications. Because unless you tell the AI, what each data means, they're going to have a hard time figuring it out. Right? So I'm helping the AI. So I did things like, tagging my experience with the company, with the title, with the start date, with the end date, so that if I ask a question, what is Biren's experience in the last 5 years, let's say, right? It would know that, okay, I can only pick from these 10 things and not all my experience, right? So those are the kinds of use cases that I was working with. And there's a lot of iteration, repetitiveness, and like just experimenting, seeing the answers, building, changing the prompts, changing my data framework, so that's how it went. And the results were that it gave very accurate answers. Things that I would expect myself to answer.
Was this meant for recruiters? To be used by recruiters?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was using it to learn AI. Actually, I have it up on my website. So anybody can come in and ask a question.
Okay.
So this is my third version. And this is the version where I want to point out a couple of things. So first of all, redesign the entire chat bar in an agentic framework. So what that means is, one of the key lessons is that agents are really good at understanding small atomic tasks, right? If you ask the agent to build you an omelet, okay, it's going to do a fair job. But if you have 10 agents, one agent responsible for breaking the egg, the other agent responsible for mixing it and pouring it and all that stuff, it becomes really smarter and you get better results, right? So in this example, there's a master orchestrator, and what it's doing is it's understanding the intent of the user and saying, is the user trying to understand context about Biren, or is the user trying to look up a schedule, or trying to book a meeting, or does the user just wants to send Biren a message, right? So that's very fixed, and it's very clear what that agent is doing. And then it farms out the work to the bottom agents, which are below. So the first agent is programmed to create, to look up availability in my calendar and then help the user schedule an appointment. The second agent is there to look up my work experience, and the last one is to send me a message, right? So this one, if you go to my website, it's there somewhere. You can play around with it.
What's the URL?
It's called gofractionalpm.com.
You had it.
Yeah. And if you have time, I can demo it.
Got about 1 minute.
1 minute. Okay. So the last one. Okay. So this is a fun one. So once I built the chatbot, I decided, okay, I need a website for my fractional consulting business. So I'm going to do it myself, right? So I got onto Lovable, which is a great vibe coding tool, and I asked it to design a website for me. I gave it basic prompt. I had structured prompts on what I needed, what sections I needed. I gave it some detailed information on how I wanted to build the site, and within 3 days I had a working site. And I didn't have to hire anybody. I didn't have to, and I could customize it almost like instantly. Right? And then not only that, I took the chat agent, which I built in an 8N, and I embedded it back in the website. So it helped me also to embed other things on the website. So what are lessons I learned? I learned that, going back to fundamentals, prompt engineering, understanding how to work with evidence is super important. I mean, that's, I think, really a good skill. I continue to refine and learn that skill, over and over again, because there are other advances that are coming in there. Prototyping of concepts is quick. So get over the hurdle, start prototyping. okay, and start experimenting. The last one is key. Once you start prototyping, you'll soon realize that the best way to get results from an AI is to break up the task in chunks. Once you do that, then the AI is able to understand what your intent is and give you better results. Okay. How do I do? So, yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Really good.
Any questions? Yeah.
Just a comment. I haven't used the Lovable wireframing tool, but I've if you use Miro has a AI generation. If you given your user given business requirements, especially if you're building on a dashboard or website or an MVP. And also I was surprised to learn that the ChatGPT version 5.5 also very effective. I did that with them. Group that we gather business requirements from various end users. We have a rough idea this is what we want an MVP to be. First, spend as much information as we can, and then set up a wireframe. Just develop the coding, but at least give us a wireframe what it will look like in some of the basic starting code.
That's amazing. Yeah, I definitely want to try that out.
You mentioned refining data for the different versions, right, of your Canva. Did you use any standard format, or you created on your own for the metadata and when you were training the Canva?
Yeah, so I use JSON, to AIs understand JSON the best.
So you parse
it, convert it to JSON, attach the metadata to it. And then the other thing, which a trick I learned was that if you get the AI to summarize that data and put it with your raw data, right? So AI summary and your raw data, right? Then when the query comes in, it's easier for the AI to pull that data features.
Thank you.
Right, good. All right, thank you.